Welcome back to the Healing Room. Tonight's topic of conversation is the cutting cords meditation. So, this is a meditation that was given to me over 30 years ago. And it was a more basic meditation, and I changed it around a little bit to add some significant pieces that I felt were needed. And to me, it's one of the most significant tools, spiritual tools that I employ for myself, my clients, whenever there is an issue with a relationship specifically, where you can't seem to find a balance or a place of peace in relationship to another person. And you can't quite figure out what it is exactly that is out of harmony with this individual. You see, we believe, some of us, that this reality and this incarnation is all that exists. But the truth is, we have been around the block many, many times. We are souls that have been in bodies so many times, thousands upon thousands of times, which means that we have encountered other souls thousands upon thousands of times. And so, if that is the case, chances are we've hit certain walls in relationships with people. And then we come to encounter them again in this lifetime. And at a certain point, we hit that same wall, even though we're not aware of a sameness because we're not aware of other lifetimes. But we don't need to be aware of the specifics of what it is that is out of harmony with this individual. All we need to know is something is not right. And I keep cogitating, thinking, worrying, having these feelings and sensations, whether it's anger, jealousy, betrayal, victimhood, whatever the energy is, whatever the emotion is, that is a telltale sign that there's something going on in the background that I need to clear up. So again, this meditation is bypassing the mind and the intellect and the need to understand why. Why do I need to do this? Why is this happening with this person? It doesn't matter. So the meditation begins with calling upon the higher self, calling upon a realm that is beyond this third dimensional physical reality. We want to go to a place of higher consciousness. So we call upon the higher self of the individual and ourselves. We can also call upon the causal plane. And on the causal plane, we call upon that individual and the higher self of that individual. The causal plane is where everything originates. So there's many exercises that I employ whenever I want to deal with certain things of this world, but I can't deal with it. So I have to go to a higher plane to work on the issue there, and then it will trickle down back into this domain. So when I call upon the higher self of the individual, because I cannot communicate to the ego personality, then after the exercise is done, after the meditation is complete, then the higher self will download the whole experience to the personality energetically. And the personality won't know what's going on. It'll just feel different in relationship to you. And I know this works because I've done it so many times with myself, and I've heard many other people who have done it have incredible responses within 24 hours of doing this meditation. So I call upon the causal plane of existence, and on the causal plane, I call upon the higher self of this individual to be present with me. When that individual is present, then you say the words, I am grateful for the path that we have taken together. So, gratitude first and foremost. I am grateful for the path we've taken together, and I am complete with this relationship the way it is. And I choose to cut all cords of disempowerment between us. So these are the words. But in order for these words to work, first one must take full accountability for being cause, for being 100% responsible for creating the relationship and everything that occurred in the relationship. This is of utmost importance. Why? Because you cannot transform anything in this world if you are not 100% cause. The one who is cause is the authority. Authority means the author. I am the author of this relationship. I am the author of my reality. I am the authority in this world of anything that has to do with me. So I take 100% responsibility for being cause of everything that's occurred in this relationship in all time and space, past, present, and future. All time and space, past, present, and future. So let me go back to being cause for a moment. If I am not cause 100% of my life, then the power of creation, the power of transformation is outside of me. I don't possess the power. And someone may say, well, yeah, well, I was 3 years old and I was abused. And you're saying that I'm responsible for that? Again, we have to go beyond this singular lifetime and this experience and this reality to the fact that we have had many lifetimes, and that soul that was 3 years old is beyond 3 years old. That soul has experienced thousands upon thousands of lifetimes, and one doesn't know what that soul who was, quote, abused has done to the abuser in other lifetimes, because we play all roles. We just keep shifting the role in each lifetime. One lifetime, I'm the victim. Next lifetime, I'm the victimizer. So when I claim that I am the cause 100%, then I end the cycle of back and forth with this individual and all individuals that I have challenges with. Because basically, when we're trying to deal with it in this reality, we're trying to do it through the lens of the ego personality and the limited mind that perceives through duality, good, bad, right, wrong. You cannot rectify a situation from the dualistic perspective. You have to go to unity consciousness, oneness, which transcends all the limitations of duality. Hopefully that makes sense. This is a really important piece of the puzzle, and it deals with everything in this world. How to pull back our projections, how to deal with our reactions. Because if we are projecting and reacting, we are losing our power. We're losing our energy. We're saying that the external world is real, more real than me, than I am in this moment. And that the external world has control over me, and that's why I'm reacting to it. The external world is simply a catalyst, never the cause. The cause is always internal. And once this precept is understood, then you start to become a powerhouse on the planet. You start to transform reality simply by walking in this world, because you are in the witness. You are in the world, not of the world. So that witness is transforming reality, the illusion, small r, it's transforming it into the greater R, reality, truth, oneness, unity consciousness. Until then, we are stuck in Maya's dream, in this web of illusion. But once you step back out of it, become 100% cause for creating reality, your own reality. Once that happens, the game is a very different game that you play in this world. So back to the meditation. I am 100% cause for everything that has occurred in this relationship. And being cause, I choose to cut all cords of disempowerment, dysfunctionality between us in all time and space, past, present, future. All time and space. You want to cover every moment in existence, every timeline with this individual. And when we do the cutting cords, it domino effects into all of those planes. And then the way you know the meditation has worked is because your mind is at peace in relationship to the individual. You're not so charged anymore. You may need to do the meditation a few times because there may be deep roots in relationship to this individual. Or you may need to do it a few times over time, like another year or so passes and you're noticing, I have a charge with this individual. Let me go back and do a cutting cords meditation again because I'm hitting another wall, another place of resistance in relationship to the other. So, all time and space, past, present, and future. And when it's time to do the cutting of the cords, we call upon an archetype, the archetype of the Archangel Michael, who stands for truth and justice. And so we call upon the archetype, he descends next to us and hands us the sword of truth. We take this sword and we cut all cords 3 times. We bring the sword down and we cut all cords of disempowerment, dysfunctionality, dis-ease, whatever the words that resonate for you. We cut these cords once and for all. And then when it's done, you notice that those cords, your cords come back to you and their cords go back to them, which is exactly how we want it. Because then we are in our own field of consciousness. We're not losing energy with this individual because every time we're in a reactive state, we are losing energy to the reaction, to the external entity. So harboring anger or whatever emotion, anytime we're harboring any negative emotion towards another person, we are giving them our energy. We are feeding that relationship in that way. It's the same thing with the world. Anything we react towards, positive or negative, is getting our energy. So we want to simply pull back our cords, notice our reactivity, do the inner work when that reactivity arises, realizing the external world is simply a reflection of our inner state of consciousness. And so if ever I'm reacting to the external world, I have to pull my energy back and sit with the reactivity to find the source of what just got catalyzed, what just got triggered, and then do the inner work to integrate that. But it's never the external world that is the source of our triggers, simply the catalyst. So we cut the cords 3 times. We hand the sword back to Archangel Michael. And then we look into the eyes of the individual that is before us, and we bless them. We thank them. We bless them. And we honor the path that they have chosen, whatever it is. And then we bring our hands together, right? The hands apart is duality. The hands together is bringing it back to the center, to unification, to oneness, to honoring the divine within each. And we bow to the person, honoring their path, honoring their choices, honoring their soul. And then we let them go. And they disappear back from whence they came. An important thing to note about this meditation is we're not cutting the heart cords. They always remain. So sometimes people will say, I really don't want to end the relationship with this person. This is not a meditation to end a relationship. This is a meditation to cut the dysfunctional cords between the individuals in a relationship. So you'll find if you hit a snag in your own relationship, that this meditation will help to clear the way so that you can relate in the present moment rather than spiral, right? A downward spiral of you did this, no, you did that, the back and forth that can happen sometimes in relationships. And it's hard to rectify these challenging times. That's why we have to go to the higher planes of consciousness, call upon the higher self, and do the work there. So, this to me is a great gift that we have been given, this cutting cords meditation. And it is a springboard. I use this meditation as a springboard for other meditations and other things that I do in this world, which perhaps I will share on another time, but I think that's enough for this conversation of the cutting cords meditation. So let's open up the space to any questions, comments, sharing for anyone who has done the meditation, what you've noticed, and why. Now we need to go to, oh yeah, view, gallery. Here we go. Hey, everyone. Good to see y'all. Nice. Questions, comments, thoughts, sharings? Who's done the meditation? What have you noticed? Yes, Heather.
Hi, Joseph. I did the cutting cords meditation probably about 4 years ago, and I didn't fully understand at the time. I did it with for my ex-husband and myself, and I just thought at the time that, we had been divorced for a couple years, and it was a very painful relationship, and I just was thinking, that it was something good to do, just to distance myself from the painful past and whatever. And just now hearing you talk about it, we're the best of friends. And I think it started in that moment. And we're still family. And he's literally one of my good friends. And when you were talking about it just now, it really was a moment when I realized that's when it started, that because of that. And I didn't really know at the time. I knew it was a good thing. And I knew that, it was something I needed to do, but that's why. And I just would like to thank you because that's amazing. And that's why. So
Awesome.
thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it clears away the cobwebs of the past. You know,
Yes, I didn't care anymore. I'm sorry for interrupting. I didn't care anymore about the garbage and the bad things that happened and the disappointments, and I just didn't care anymore. And it was lifted.
right, because as the author, you're rewriting the script. You cannot change what happened in the past, but you can change your relationship to what happened in the past. So when you do that and you're no longer in the past, feeding, what transpired, thinking about it, cogitating over and over again, holding them in prison, like you did this to me, you did that to me. When you cut the cords, then that is done. It's wiped. The slate is cleared,
Yes.
wiped, cleared.
I will say too, I did it in the dark. I was home by myself, obviously, and in the complete darkness. I cried my eyes out, and it was so difficult at the end where I had to put him in front of me. Like he was like literally there in front of me, and afterwards, I just felt so light, and I didn't care anymore, and it was just really amazing.
Right. And chances are there's many lifetimes related to that. And because you choose this moment in time, that's why you can only heal in the present moment. You have to stop and do something in this moment in order to impact and affect the past and the future because they're interrelated. People don't realize this. If you don't, in the present moment, transform your past, then your past becomes your future and you bypass the present moment. Bypasses the present moment. So that's why we say, I cut all dysfunctional cords between us in all time and space, past, present, and future. Wipe that slate clear. Now you can be present with that individual anew. All the karma, the samskaras related to that individual cleared.
Yep.
That's the power that we have. That's the power that we have. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Anyone else? Yes, Anna.
Yes. I can talk now.
Yes, you can talk now.
Okay. Yeah, I also did the meditation mm, like 8 years ago, I would say, with my ex-husband, my daughter's father, because we became grandfathers or grandparents, and uh, my daughter was my older daughter, Elizabeth. She was like she was like very anxious and stressed out because it was going to be her daughter's first birthday, and she says, if I invite you, I cannot invite that, and vice versa. And I was like, well, invite him, I won't go. But you both are my parents, I want you both at with my to celebrate my daughter's first birthday. And I was like, oh my God. And then I remember, wait a minute, I have this meditation, let me do it. And I did it, and I forgot about it because she planned ahead. She planned the birthday is in November, but she planned like in March. So there was, you know, still a lot of time for the party. So I made the meditation, and I just felt at peace. I felt at peace, really. And one day I forgot about the meditation. I forgot about him. My daughter didn't call me. So he called me. And he says, Anna, I want to ask you to forgive me for all that I did to you. Yeah. And I was like, what? I was like rude to him, because I remember the way we, ended up in all the relationship. And I was like, what? are you drunk? And he's like, no, no, no. I don't know. All of a sudden, I was thinking about you. What a wonderful woman you are. What a great mother to my daughter. And even though she's not your daughter, you treat her as your own daughter and you love her and you take care of her and everything. So I just was thinking, I was such a bad guy to you. I said, don't even think about going back. He says, no, 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 no. Don't worry. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's just that I'm thinking and please forgive me for all the wrong things that I did to you. And I was, don't worry about that. I'm totally at peace. I don't even think about that. Really, I wasn't thinking about that anymore. That wasn't bothering me at all. And I said, forgive yourself because I take responsibility, like the meditation said, of all that happened in our relationship is because I allowed it. I allowed that and I take responsibility for that. And I forgive you. I mean, now you have to forgive yourself. He started to tear. He was like, oh my God, I don't deserve this. You're amazing. Wow. And I was like, well, thank you. And like, I don't know who was Heather before me.
Mhm.
Now we're very good friends. He's like my brother now. Yeah, we have a great relationship now. He says, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, and he's a very mean person. But yeah, I mean, all because of the power of, Archangel Michael. My God, amazing. Whenever he's always there. And whenever I have, something uh, with someone, I go to the meditation, the cutting course meditation. I offer it to other people that are going through things with relationships. And yeah, they say they're amazed. Other people say they're scared because, when they have to do the visualization of Archangel Michael handing you the sword. I don't know why they get scared. I say, oh my God, to me, it's the most amazing thing. I don't know. I just wanted to share this. I thought it was because it amazed me how it worked. I did it for me, but it worked on him too.
Right,
It was
because what you're doing is you're liberating yourself, but also the other person, because you're no longer projecting that he's a mean person. Because whatever we put forth out there becomes truth.
right.
So if you
Absolutely.
say this person is very mean, they have to affirm your words.
Right. So I cancel what I said
Exactly.
before.
So
Right. Right.
I forgive, clears the slate. You're no
Right.
longer sending those projections out to him. So he
Right.
no longer needs to fulfill your belief system
Right.
about him being a bad person. And so he comes back to you and says, forgive me. And what you said is exactly right. We never need to ask anyone else for forgiveness. We ask ourselves. We forgive ourselves.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And when we forgive ourselves, all is forgiven.
Right.
So we're not
Absolutely.
waiting for someone else to forgive us. That's again giving the external world the power. We're
Exactly.
the author, we're the authority. So in the meditation, you can add that piece. I forgive you and I forgive myself for anything that we may have done to each other, real or perceived,
Exactly.
in all time and space, past, present, and future. So I will add that for sure in the meditation whenever I feel like I may have, caused harm and, I need to be forgiven. I will say, I forgive myself and I forgive you. That forgiveness piece is very, very important because once we forgive, the contract is over. Forgiveness ends contracts,
Right.
karmic
Absolutely.
contract. So where do you live now, Anna?
I live in the Bronx. I
Right. But
live
whose house do you live in?
in his house.
Yeah. How curious.
I know. And he's like my brother. He's like, I always thankful to God because I said, oh my God, I'm living here. He's like my brother. He's always taking care of everything. He always give me food, always. I lost some clients, for different reasons. But I said, but God, thank you, God, because now you're my provider, he's providing, he's providing me. It's an amazing relationship. He's like my brother.
Right, because we come into these incarnations and we re-encounter all of our soul family. And we have been in various positions with all these soul family, right? We have been mother, daughter, lover, husband, wife, nephew, whatever it is. So when you cut these cords, everything goes back to the origin, back to the base, back to relationship, connectivity, heart-centeredness. That is why this meditation is so profound, because it registers everything back to the origin, to the beginning, when there was no duality, no right, wrong, good, bad, just connectivity, interconnectedness, unconditional love, and acceptance. So imagine if all of us on this planet started doing this meditation, how much we would see so much less of this back and forth, pointing fingers, left, right, all the stuff that we see that creates so much dissonance in the world. If everyone just took full responsibility for their piece of the puzzle, it would be a very different world. But it's happening. We're here, we're talking about it, we're sharing this information, and this is the ripple effect of how information gets into the world. This meditation is like the number one video watched on my YouTube channel, like more than anything else. I don't have a lot of watches, period, or views, but the one that has the most is the cutting cords meditation. And people say, oh, it's me, because I go on there, 4 times a day sometimes to keep cutting these cords. So, regardless, I love seeing that the number go up, 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 because it tells me that people are, transforming their own reality, which means they're transforming the world external, because the world external is simply a reflection of our inner state of consciousness.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
wonderful. Anna, so great.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Who else?
We'll jump in, Joseph.
Yeah, Robert.
So you know that it worked with my boss, who it seemed like I had some past trauma or issues with her. And I did the meditation, and then within the next day, it was like a blink of a blink of an eye difference, world of a difference with her attitude, her demeanor, and everything. Um, you kind of touched base on, well, you did touch base on doing it multiple times, but
Yeah.
I guess why do you have to do it multiple times? I know practice makes perfect, but why is it necessary to have to do it more times if it works just one time?
Yeah, if it works the first time and you notice that your mind is clear, you're not thinking about the person, you don't have any reactivity to it, then there's no need to do it again. But sometimes, who knows what transpired in past lives, that there's still some sort of an edge there. There's still something that's being held on to. So in that situation, you would go back and do it again. It could be in a week later, a month, a year later. It doesn't mean that's going to happen every single day, but the point is, if you notice that you're not feeling totally clear, then do it again. But you may not notice it for a period of time. So no, it's not essential to do it over and over again. Some people like doing it. I don't know why. They like the feeling of freedom, perhaps, when they do that meditation. But it's not necessary to do it again. Only, like, I've done it with the family members so many times, and who knows what transpired with that family member. But since childhood, I mean, I have, you know, journals of proof of the harm done to me. So now I don't think about that individual, and I I only have love for them. So that informs me that I am at a neutral place. I'm at a witness position in relationship to that individual. And I have completed my karmic task with that individual, because I did consider myself a victim for many, many years. It took a long time to give up my story of harm caused to me. It took me a long time to give it up. And eventually, my ego got mature enough to finally say, okay, I am letting this person off the hook. I acknowledge that I am actually this person, that I possess the same qualities. This is a challenging one for the ego personality, to accept that it is whatever I'm perceiving in the other person, that I possess those qualities. I possess those qualities, because if I don't acknowledge that I possess it, then I'm always going to need to create someone else outside of me to hold that polarity, to hold that shadow. But when I own it, when I say, no, that's me, I am someone who is angry, I am someone who has rage. When I own that, then I am neutralizing my projection. I don't need an external authority to hold that shadow for me, because I now acknowledge that it's all inside of me. There's nothing inside of me. Nothing inside of me, nothing outside in the world that is not inside of me. You get that? There is nothing in the external world that is not inside of me, whether it's a germ, bacteria, quality, human quality, positive or negative. The whole universe is inside of this being. Therefore, there's nothing to project into the world. That's the ultimate teaching of the cutting cords meditation, to let go of the other, of the external as cause. Everything is generated inside of me, because I am the author, I am the authority. So yeah, when Robert was having an issue, he had a new job, and this person was targeting him for no reason. And as he was talking, I'm like, just do the cutting cords meditation. He's like, but I don't understand. Why is she? I'm like, it doesn't matter why. It really doesn't matter why they are doing what they're doing. All that matters is that you notice there's something askew here in this relationship with a total stranger, projecting all this stuff onto him. So do the meditation and just let the cards fall where they may. Did the meditation, and truly, the person was a different human being the next day. Not even 24 hours. Very, very different in response to him. It was mind-blowing. Even my mind was blown. As much as I've seen this work so many times, I was like, that is truly a miracle, because he was distressed about it. And now, having a great time, number one employee in the company. That's me saying that, but I have a perception.
Oh, no, that's true. That's true.
Right. So going from being targeted to now, like, whenever anything is wrong, they contact him for the answers. Like, that's the balancing act that's happening through the power of this meditation. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. So there was
I do want to ask.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to ask, is there a time that the cutting cord meditation is healthy versus avoidant? Like, how can you tell the difference between like releasing that energy and then avoiding emotions that maybe need to be worked on?
Oh, that's curious. Well, you can't really cut the cords if you're not in a place of forgiveness and surrenderance, because that would be the case where you have to do it again, because you weren't fully surrendered. There was still something being held against that person. You didn't take full responsibility for being cause. If there's still a small party that's like, the reality is they did that to me. As long as that piece of information is still in the mind, you're not ready to fully surrender and cut the cord. So that's why you'd have to do it again. So that's how that other question ties into this question. Ultimately, you will know if you're not ready to fully let go. But it still serves to do the meditation, but you'll have to go back in a few days or a week or so and cut it again if they are still occupying your thoughts and your mind. Great. There was a hand raised from an iPhone somewhere. Yes. You have to unmute.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Let me
What's
look.
your name?
Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi. Um, so there's a lot of thoughts going on in my head. So I tried different things, I didn't do the cutting cord one yet about I'll just be like frank about my mother, but I did try like disattachment and like kind of staying in a neutral spot. So when you're talking, you're saying to identify the feeling, like the cause. You're saying also like what you project upon them.
No, you don't have to focus on what it is that there's different exercises you can do with family members like that. The first thing I would suggest is, what is it about my mother that I don't like about myself? Because we have to project onto someone else that which we do not want to own ourselves. Like, I would never want to be, in the past, I was never an angry person like my sister. I would never want to acknowledge that I was that. But then over time and with maturity, I was like, oh, no, no, I do have that level of anger inside of me. So oftentimes we will project the negative emotion onto someone else because we don't want to acknowledge that we could have that quality as well. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is, you don't have to do anything of understanding what the cause is. You don't need to understand what the cause is. You simply need to know that I am cause. I'm the one that generated this relationship. I'm the one that generated everything in this relationship. So the mind may be like, no, I didn't. And you're like, yes, we did. There could have been another lifetime that we did something to that person. Therefore, we have to take responsibility for being cause, even though we don't understand why we would do that. So the ego personality, its resistance stands in the way of healing, because it wants to maintain otherness. It wants to maintain the projection. It wants to maintain being a victim. But there's no power in being a victim. You're
No.
losing a lot of energy, and so are they. So you're both in a prison. And if you
Yeah.
rectify the split, then the next lifetime, you'll look for each other again, because it's magnetic. Energy is magnetic. So we will look for that which is incomplete. And then oftentimes we'll marry them, not realizing it's just a karmic relationship that needs to be completed. That's why take time to get to know someone before you commit to anything deeper, because it just may be a karmic clearing. That's why I think we're seeing so much divorce, because we're not recognizing what the relationship is. We're not doing the work we need to do to complete it. And then after the cutting cords, then you see, is the energy of love and presence and marriage and all that still there with this person. So there's a lot to unpack when
Yeah.
we are dealing with relationships in life.
I agree. And I think it's funny because as you're talking, I'm like, all right, I have to cut the cord with the ex-husband, cut the cord with the mother, cut the cord with the boss. I think it maybe has to do with like this feeling of like you don't care, like you don't care. So then another person, and it's just the same person that, presents themselves, in other words,
Correct.
and that's just the pattern.
Right,
So
right. So ultimately, though, you want to find out who's saying you don't care. And chances are it's a wounded child
mhm,
that needs a parent to hug them, to love them. And you have to then do the inner child work
mm,
to show up as the new parent for your child, because your parent couldn't give the child what it needed. So that's another layer of work of integrating the child, because the child exists in a fragment somewhere in the past. And so we have to go and collect those fragments and bring them to the present. That's a different type of work. So this is just the cutting cords meditation is one piece of the spiritual work that we're doing, of the healing work that we're doing. But then we have to be like, okay, who is resistant? Who is talking? Who is doing this? And then we have to go and collect those parts from the time and space that they're stuck in.
A lot of work.
You got it, but it pays off, because once you do all that work, you're neutral. You're in the world and you're observing everything exactly as it is and accepting it exactly as it is. Because that's where we trip up in this reality, is we want things to be different in the external world without doing the internal work.
Mm-hmm.
How can you get the world to change for you if you're not willing to do the internal work to be the change first? So I don't expect anything from the world. I've done my inner work. I don't have reactivity to the external world. So I know that my presence in the world is actually neutralizing the negativity in the world, because I'm not feeding it. And whatever you don't feed, you transform.
Got it.
Whatever you don't feed, you will transform.
Yeah, you gotta starve your ego.
Got to start with the ego personality, because we're here to dissolve it. That ego is simply a structure for the soul in this lifetime. But ultimately, that ego needs to dissolve all of its limitations, the box that it's in. You need to slowly dissolve all these boxes, identities, belief systems, limitations, all the subconscious content is what the ego is running. So we can find that subconscious content by listening to what the ego is saying, all the projections, and going, oh, I need to work on this, that, and the other thing, because that's what the ego is projecting in the world. But yeah, that's why generally we need a teacher who can notice for us what we're not noticing, because we're so close to it that we can't see it for ourselves. I wouldn't be in this position as a healer, as a teacher, as a mentor, if I didn't have numerous mentors and teachers growing up for many, many years, many sessions where they would point out all of my flaws, very humbling, but it worked because it got me to a place of clarity to see clearly within myself and to see clearly for other people who can't see themselves. So it really behooves us to do this inner work and to become the clearest, most present soul on the planet, because it serves us for sure, but it serves humanity. You are being of service when you do the inner healing work.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Amanda. Thank you. Who else? What else?
Hey, Joseph, I think there's a certain momentum to this too. When I do these meditations and these exercises within myself, it has occurred to me that a healthy love of self really is kind of foundational, at least for me. I realized around Thanksgiving time of this past year, maybe into December, that I had been fully accepting of who I am, what I want out of life, and so on. But there was a little segment of me that was kind of judging, how am I manifesting? How am I doing in this journey? And that was where I was criticizing myself. And I bring that up because it resulted in the energy of other people criticizing, or I felt criticized, or I took offense, and then I had to cut another cord, and then there was another cord to cut. So there's the momentum, and that might be some of the do-over that is needed. It was for me. But when I realized what I was doing, and I kind of, I don't know, energetically tried to clear out and did clear out a lot of self-judgment and criticism, there was no need to do any more of that cutting cord business. At least, we just keep going forward and we keep going higher. But this is just some things that I've been kind of thinking about in the last few months. And my job has gotten a lot better too. There's just this respect and there's surprises that comes when you feel some honor or something like that. But another thing that I saw not long ago regarding the past is to not just love your present self in a healthy way. And then I'm just saying this to myself, not really so much anybody else, but I saw something recently that encouraged us to love that past version of myself too, from childhood on, to love every single aspect of now and who I was, which is not the same person, but I can still love that person and not regret and not judge. So that to me helps to eliminate or minimize the need to cut more cords tomorrow.
Right. Yes, because you don't need an external entity to reflect back to you whatever it is that's in shadow, because you have
Yeah.
brought light to the shadow. But that's why I like, whenever I have a reaction to anything, I go and I sit down and I'm like, this is curious. This is very curious. So it always informs me of the inner work that needs to be done. And it is the higher we go in consciousness, the more refined the work becomes, because
Yeah.
spiritual people can have the biggest blind spots, right? The
Mhm.
spiritualized ego is the most difficult to dissolve,
Mm,
because the ego will then utilize all these spiritual concepts and claim it as its own,
that's true. Yep.
right? So when the higher we go, the more on point we actually need to be, so we don't go to that place of arrogance
Hmm.
or aloofness or I'm better than,
Hmm.
but how to hold that place of humility and vulnerability as we ascend you know the mountain of spirituality, because we go to the top, right? We get to the top of the mountain, but we're not going to be staying there. We're going to be coming back down again to assist others with coming up that mountain. So it's not useful to just hang out at the mountaintop once achieved a certain level of consciousness. We then return to the tribe and we share everything that we have gleaned and learned, and all of that stuff. But we're in a human body, we're in this physical material world, so chances are there's going to be plenty opportunities to be triggered, for
Mm.
someone to catalyze some deep dark issue in the recesses of our unconscious. So i like uh I like that bit of information you're sharing around the nuances of the details of what arises, especially, being self-critical and then noticing people criticizing you and being, oh, I got that work to do, because I'm getting that reflection from
Yes.
the illusion, right? Because the world is an illusion, it's a dream, it's Maya's web.
Yeah.
So whatever we're looking at, whatever we're seeing, is simply a reflection of our own self. So if I see love everywhere in the world,
Mhm.
then that's because I am putting forth love. If I see hatred, if I see chaos, if I see whatever it is, it's always coming from the lens of perception from within, that which I'm seeing externally.
Yeah.
So I really want to focus on the higher qualities of the soul: love, acceptance,
Yeah.
beauty. I want to focus on that when I'm, glancing into the world, so that I can perpetuate more of that in the world. Because someone who's vibrating at a higher frequency actually has a greater span of impact in the world. Someone who's operating at a higher frequency has an impact, perhaps for miles, let's say, if there's if there's time and space. Miles of impact, as opposed to a negative person maybe has a few feet. So we want to cultivate all those higher qualities. When I walk around, I just bless people. I just say, God bless you, God bless. I don't say it out loud, of course, I say it internally, but I will bless everywhere I go so that there's blessings everywhere.
To the pure, all things are pure. It's true. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Good stuff. These are the important conversations to have from my perspective. Really important. Yes, Karen.
So, can you do a cord cutting with somebody who has passed away?
Absolutely. Time
So
and space is not linear. Time and space is spatial, multidimensional.
how do you do that?
You just visualize them however you see them, their higher self. You're communing with their higher self. So you call upon their higher self and you do the cutting cords exactly as it's done. Right? It doesn't matter if someone is in form or not, because those relationships you've had with that soul are still occurring. They're still going on. This is the point many people don't understand. Time is not linear. It's spatial, it's multi-dimensional. So if you're still having thoughts of that individual, then that energy is perpetuating in another incarnation or many other incarnations somewhere in time and space. So you can still address that individual in the way you know them and cut those cords, and it will domino effect into all those incarnations. And I mean, I can get pretty woo-woo with all of this, but everything that relates also to those relationships is also cleared. So it's domino effect. So imagine like a multi-dimensional domino board. And when you cut the cords, all of these realities are neutralized. All of them all at once, beyond your understanding. And then all that energy comes back to you because it requires energy to keep all that going. All that dysfunctionality requires a lot of energy. So once you domino effect clear all those incarnations and everything related to that, then all that energy comes back to you. So it's more than just cutting the cords with an individual in this moment in time. It's more than just one singular event happening. It is a multitude of experiences happening all at once.
And so if I went through and did the cord cutting, that would open me up then to other possibilities that are closed now.
Absolutely. Because it takes energy to maintain that projection with that individual. Somebody say it takes 10% of your energy to hold on to like that person did that to me. And you have to keep that going on a daily basis, consciously or unconsciously. So as soon as those cords are cut, all that energy comes back to heal your body, heal your mind, whatever you need that energy for. Because if we only have like 100%, 10% is a good amount. And that's just with that individual, right? Now, imagine all the other things that could be energy going towards, right? And each time you do that, you will notice how much freer you feel inside. No matter what's happening with the world externally, you feel good within yourself. You feel good within yourself. And that feeling good in yourself changes the world because you're not feeding the illusion in the world. You're bringing positivity, higher quality of energy, consciousness, because you're no longer operating from that place of judgment, duality, feeding the illusion.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Karen. I can say all of this because I've been doing it since I'm 20 years old, and now I'm at my 60th year. So for 40 years I've been doing this kind of work, and I can unequivocally say it works. I wouldn't be in this position sharing this information if I wasn't an embodiment of what I was talking about. Do I still get tripped up? Yeah, once in a while, absolutely. But I go to curiosity first and foremost. I'm always like, oh, that's curious. I just had a reaction to that. Interesting. Very interesting. And then I go to work. I do the inner work to sit with what is caused inside of me, what needs to be integrated, who's talking. I have all these various tools to call upon: the flower essences, homeopathic remedies, the cutting cords meditation, the inner child work, calling back the parts. So many tools we have, and there's many, many more tools. So you find those tools that work best for you and you employ them. Even the Gayatri mantra, right? I talked about that one in the last healing room. I've been doing that for, 25 years. Powerful, powerful meditation that cleanses the subconscious mind. And every time I do it, I'm more and more present. So we use whatever tools that we find useful in order to help us become fully present in this moment as an awakened, enlivened soul, where that ego personality is surrendering more and more of its divisive perspective of reality and stepping more and more into unity consciousness. Anyone else? Thoughts? Lee, did you have a question?
Hey everyone.
Hey, Lee.
Yeah, I had never heard you say before that you don't cut the heart cord or
Well,
the
they
bond.
just don't cut because you're not focusing on those. You're focusing on the cords of disempowerment or dysfunctionality.
Yeah, so I was feeling really nervous to do it with people that I am actively in relationship, nourishing relationship, creating bond, creating, attachment. I was nervous to do it in those contexts because I didn't know that part. Because I don't think the recording says that, but I heard you say it tonight.
That's a good point. I'm not sure that the recording does say that.
Yeah.
Um,
And so what if there's an ongoing relationship, that just has patterns or unresolved or needing repair? You're saying just do that, and then like Robert and his boss, or these women and their exes, like their relationship you're not cutting the love and the
no,
relationship. Okay.
no, because we're all connected. We're all connected by these heart cords. So they never get cut because the words that we're using are important. I cut all dysfunctional cords in all time and space, past, present, future. I'm not saying I cut all heart cords. I'm
Yeah.
saying dysfunctional cords. The dysfunctional cords are usually at the solar plexus
Mm-hmm.
because that's the
Mm-hmm.
psychic energy that connects us to people. So that to me is where the cords are being cut.
Yeah, I've definitely felt them in my head, my shoulders
Yeah.
even. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that was my big concern of like what do you do in those situations? But thank you. That's clarifying. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Joseph. Hey, Joe. You have to unmute.
I couldn't find the button. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, so this regarding the heart chords is a very good point, and I have a question about this. So there is a there's a, I did a kind of like I did it not I have done the cutting chords meditation before, but there's a situation where I did a kind of like breaking the pattern meditation, because it was more like me focused. Like I didn't want to like give the energy to the dysfunctional relationship, and I'm like, no, there's a pattern that I have to break here, and it worked remarkably quickly, and it ended the relationship. Like the relationship ended. Yeah. In short, I was fired. But I positioned myself strategically to be fired. I understood this, like, because I am the author. But there was an immediate sense of like elation and freedom. And then a few days later, I am noticing this kind of like tightness in my heart. So, how can we address this? Like, it was a relationship that I wanted to be done, that I wanted to move on, that I realized was an external projection of many insecurities in my own life that I was like ignoring. And now there's like dealing with the heartness of it. So can you speak to that?
So when you say the heart, so when you drop into the heart, what do you notice?
There's tightness, like it's being squeezed.
Right. What's the emotion?
Guilt. Anxiety.
And so if you follow the cord, where does the cord lead to?
It's not outside, it's like inside. It goes.
Yeah, it could still be inside, but where does the cord lead to?
Myself.
What aspect of yourself?
Yeah, a child.
Yeah. So you follow the cord and you go back in time. And so how old's the child?
3-ish, around
Okay.
3.
And what's happening with the child that there's feeling of guilt?
It's kind of like there's some kind of abandonment. There's some kind of like parental. Yeah, there's parental rage. There's rage there. There's some kind of parental anxiety.
So the child is having an experience of anxiety in relationship to the parent?
In relation to what the parent is going through.
In relation to what the parent is going through. So the child is taking on the emotions of the parent?
Yes.
Okay, so you cut the cords with the person at work or with the group at work, whatever it was, and then that opened up space for the next thing in the queue to rise, right? Because to me, there's layers. There's lots of energetic layers that we're dealing with. And so this experience is different, perhaps, from the other experience where you cut the cords. And so now there is a fragment of a child, a sensitive child that is empathic and absorbing the experience of the parent and taking on the parent's experience. Is that correct?
Yes. And also simultaneously like feeling responsible for the situation.
Right. So then what needs to be done in this situation in order to rectify it?
Can you repeat that?
So what needs to be done in this situation in order to rectify it? What does the child need?
The child needs um, the child needs support.
Yes. So whenever you find a fragment like this, anyone, you then have to step in as the parent.
Mm.
You have to step in and go to the child and ask the child, like, just engage the child. How, because the child will see you as an angelic being.
Mm.
This is all already pre-done, by the way. All these things that we do when we go back to retrieve aspects of our child is already done. It's hard to describe this because there's no time and space, but it's very trippy. Anyway, you go back as yourself now, as the adult. The child will see you as an angelic being. And then you ask the child, what is it you need? And what does the child say? It needs support. And then you can say, I am here to support you. What can I provide for you? What do you need? And what does the child say?
I need for you to stay.
Okay.
I
So,
need to feel secure.
yes. And so you say, I hear you. You always let the children know, I hear you. And then you say, I have an offer for you. I would like to be your parent because, or whatever. So I am doing it for you, but you have to find what is the right verbiage to communicate to this child to be able to either take it out of an abusive situation or a difficult situation, or to give the child the tools to be able to manage being in that space so it's not absorbing the family emotions, the emotions of the parent. So you can say, well, I would like to give you a tool to help you to be in this relationship without taking on mother's or father's energy. So you can say something like that. But you have to attune to the child to know, what does this child need to hear so it can remain fully present and neutral in relationship to the situation. So what does the child need to hear when it says, I need you to stay, I need support? What does it need to hear?
Like, I love you no matter what.
So let it know you are loved no matter what. You're not responsible for what's happening here. You're a child. You're not an adult. They are the adults. They're supposed to take care of you so you can stop taking on everyone else's emotions. So he's an empath, and he is not fully aware of that. So you have to commune with this child to inform it of how to live in that reality, without how to use his sensitivity as a superpower rather than a curse. You're not responsible for mother and father's emotions. You get to be a kid. So I can already feel he's shifting, right? What do you notice?
Like I'm immediately, I feel like I can just, the shift is the heart feels more relaxed. Like, I feel like I'm already like communicating with him, like, here, you can try this. When this happens, try this and do this. And I'm like, we're going to work on this together.
Yeah. So you get to say to him, whenever you need any support, just call on me. I am your angelic brother. So events like this actually happened to the child at 3 years old. So this is not something that's happening now. It's something that's already happened. This is what I mean by this can get very trippy when you start to track time and space. I've done this many times with people, and I would look and be like, I don't understand. There's already a bookmark for this here. We've already done this. And I'm like, oh, this is wild. Over and over and over again, I would notice that the child was already addressed. So this is why we have to go beyond the idea of a limited time and space. It's much, much more significant than we can ever imagine. But we can tap into any time and space with our consciousness. And so you notice, what do you notice in your heart now?
Ease.
Yeah. So that took all of a few minutes to just drop into the self. So no story. Normally the mind wants to go into a story. Oh, I cut the cords with this person. Look, now my heart hurts. Forget about the story. Drop in. Notice what the feeling is. Find the thread. Follow the thread. It's not difficult. It leads to the child. Child, what's going on for you? What do you need? How can I help you? It's all done in the imagination, but it's real. It's very, very real. When people say, oh, you're just imagining things, I'm like, everything is imagined. How do you think we have cars? Someone imagined a car. How do you think I have this house? Someone imagined this house. Imagination is powerful. See it, think it, believe it, you will create it. That's how it works. The mind is so powerful if we learned how to work with it. If we learn how to work with it, and if we trust our imagination, and if we trust our vision, what we see internally, what we feel, we are like living crystals, multi-dimensional crystalline beings with massive skills, soul skills. We have to cultivate these skills. We cultivate them so that we can remember how we've utilized them in many, many other incarnations. So all that I'm doing today in this reality is not because I studied something necessarily in this reality. A lot of what I do, I did not study. The downloads just came because part of some other aspect of myself in some other time and space continuum. I know it sounds like a sci-fi movie, but where do you think the sci-fi movies came from? They came from this truth. They came from this truth. That's why I love watching certain movies, because it reminds me of who I am in the greater sphere of consciousness, and why I won't watch other movies, the propaganda stuff, the fear stuff, the war stuff. I want, like, I'll put a movie on sometimes, and I'm like, 5 minutes gone. We can't watch this. This is just not. It is not serving me. I want nothing going into my subconscious mind that is going to sabotage my soul's genius. And so the more each one of us does that, the more they won't create movies that are perpetuating fear and harm and any negativity into the world. Lots to consider, right? Lots to consider. But first and foremost, we have to do the work internally to know, oh, this is not for me. Yes, this is for me. This nourishes me. This is taking energy away from me. We have to cultivate that sensitivity to know what serves me and what doesn't serve me. It's a ongoing, that's the real occupation to me, not the job that we go to make money, but what we do to cultivate presence in this world. Wonderful. Anything else? Anyone else?
I just want to say real quick, I wasn't going to speak up again, but your conversation with Joseph was amazing because it brought back to me. I did it myself, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to solidify it here. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I remember this is my perception and memory, so that could be faulty too. But
Mm-hmm.
this is what sunk into my memory. I was 5 or 6, maybe 5, and my father was frustrated with me about something, I think, or he had a bad day. And I remember wanting his help with something or his support. And he literally said something like, "What, do you want me to hold your hand?" And I remember thinking I had enough self-awareness to say, actually, to myself, actually, yes. But I remember also detaching right at that minute and pretty much said I had enough maturity or whatever to say, okay, I'll do this by myself.
Right.
And a lot of my life has been, I'll do this by myself. And so maybe going back and doing that exercise will revise the future.
Well, you know, that quality of independence can be useful to a certain point, right? Definitely useful. But we also come in with that independence. So
Okay.
someone else could have heard, like, what do you want me to hold your hand? And thought a very different thought, depending on their samskaras. So you already came in with the stream of independence.
Okay.
I can do it myself. I don't need anyone. So perhaps in this lifetime, you came to cultivate um, asking for help, being needy, seeing neediness as something positive,
Okay.
and not being a one-man show. So yes, you can go back to that moment in time. You can pick any moment in time because it's all symbolic. You can go back to that moment in time and you can hear the child say to the father, yes, I need you to hold my hand. And then seeing the father say, okay, here's my hand. And that will help to dissolve the I don't need anyone. I will do it myself because I don't need anyone is a coping strategy for survival. And it it doesn't serve because we all need each other. I have a similar thread of I don't need anyone. Well, I can do it myself in this world. I have the connection to source. So I don't need anyone with source. I'm like, I need and I need and I need. So I am constantly asking for support. But in this world, and even when I need something in this world, I'll say angels, archangels, God, I need a plumber for this job. Show me the best plumber. So I even go to source for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it does, it is helpful to be vulnerable and to ask for help and to feel like I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. And I really want to reach out and potentially get rejected.
Yeah.
Because that is the program to overcome is the fear of rejection. Right? So if you think about it, why would I have the coping strategy of I can do it myself and independence if there wasn't a part of me that was afraid of being rejected if I asked for a hand? So yes, you can totally go back in time, commune with your child, and instruct your child to ask the father for help. Because if you think about it, it's an absurd thing for your father to say, what do you want me to hold your hand? Well, yeah, I'm 5 years old. Of course I want you to hold my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's what my thinking has been all this time.
right. So there's a fragment in the past that's waiting to come to the present. And so it will come to the present when you go back and instruct the child you can ask for help. You can ask for a hand.
So you're right now you're instructing or suggesting that I go ahead and recommend that to the child to go ahead and ask for the help, as opposed to offering my hand to be the one to hold. In my case.
You can do that, but you can also see the father. No, I
Yeah.
would suggest it resonates more strongly to have the father transform
Yeah. Yeah.
into a loving parent who gets, of course, I'm going to give this child my hand.
Yeah.
So I would,
awesome.
I would rather transform the experience and have the, because it's still you. If you become the one it reaches out for, then it's still in the same sphere. I would prefer it goes to something outside of you, like, yes, I'm going to ask you for your hand in assistance.
That would be good. And yeah.
This is a really important one because a lot of us spiritual people have this program of I don't need anyone. I'll do it on my own. It's the water violet of flower essences. It's like, healers, very introverted to themselves, and they kind of like live in their own bubble. And people like us actually to burst that bubble and share ourselves with the world. Like to be vulnerable with the world. Because the world really wants to participate in our lives, but we keep the world at bay.
And there's some element of fear that does that, maybe.
Yes, it's the fear of being rejected.
Yeah.
Because we are beings that we're souls that come from a place, as you know, that is much more higher in consciousness. So we come down here, and it's not the safest reality to sensitive souls like us. It's not the safest plane of existence. But the goal is to be able to foster that feeling of safety and security within ourselves, knowing that we are connected to source, and then to open ourselves up, like a bloom, like a flower blooming, and saying, I trust this world. I trust humanity. I trust, because the other part is that souls like us who come into this world tend to be counterculture in a way. We're trying to share the truth in a reality that sees the truth as nonsense. So what do they do to truth sayers? They kill them. So there's a part of us that remembers that and does not want to go to that place of vulnerability because they will just harm, humiliate, kill me, etc., etc. And I think that's very real inside of some of us, not all of us, but some of us that have an issue with sharing themselves with the world. I've tried so many times, and what do? You just kill me, or you shut me up, or whatever, So, but that needs to be transcended so that we can actually share our brilliance, our light, our soul light with the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Keith. That was a pretty important piece of the puzzle.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. We're losing people here. We're getting late, eh? Anyone else, or are we good for tonight?
I have something to say.
Yes, Shelby.
So, in my journey, allowing the guidance to reveal itself has been very pivotal, including recognizing from a mentor that working with a Hellerwork structural integrative bodywork practitioner might be beneficial. I did not know that working with that individual, I would not simply regain sensation in my shins that I've never had my entire life, but that I actually was able to process my circumcision as an infant with him. And then 2 weeks later, I began to process the collision in 1977 where my mother almost died in a motorcycle collision 5 years before I was born. I would say that I've learned how much a process can be about me and not about me at all the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know that my circumcision trauma was driving victimhood because it was so pre-verbal and precognitive. But learning how to surround that situation with my consciousness and awareness and to be witnessed in that then would allow me other capacities and faculties beyond my imagination.
Yes,
And
because all trauma domino effects. So yes, integrative body work can be very significant if there's lots of trauma in the tissues. And so that can also release so much energy of the past and all these memories. Like when you get deep tissue body work, you'll have visions and memories coming up. And that's because those memories are stuck in the cells. So, yeah, I am a huge proponent of deep tissue, any sort of, I did, I don't know, 100 hours of deep tissue body work to clear my body of this life, past life traumas. And it makes a huge difference of being able to be fully in the body, to be fully present in the here and now. So if one is called to do that, I would say go for it. And yes, any birth trauma, circumcision trauma, all of that still dictates life. And so we can go through that stuff. We can go through the healing of that in numerous ways. And yes, the Heller work can definitely support the integration of that type of wounding or trauma.
well, and that allowed me to, within the next 2 weeks following that, even, my mother then later said to me, and this was after I had to verbally dominate her 4 months before when she thought she could get abusive with me verbally in front of her husband and her sister. And I shut it down. Like, it was a shutdown moment. But I didn't make her wrong. I just shut down the dynamic. But then 4 months later, so it was basically 2 months after the seeing her motorcycle collision unfold in front of my eyes clairvoyantly, she then said, I wish I could have loved you and your sister better when you were kids. Can you ever forgive me?
Right.
And then moments later, her father walked in the house unannounced and then tried to abuse me in front of her. But I saw the pattern. I could see it because once he was triggered, I saw my great grandmother's face instead of his face. And then I was able to put the domino effect together. Again, not making him wrong, but making it clear that this level of trauma bonding and relationship, we were no longer available for. And my mother saw it too. And so, like, just when you said in June of 2024, I don't know when you're coming back to North Carolina, like, everything began to make so much sense why I had to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Because parts of me were stuck.
Right. And it was already in your energetic cue to do the work because what we're here to do is already register before we even incarnate. We already sign up for all the things that we're here to do. So when you go to someone like me who can see, I am just letting you know this is what's next in the queue of your soul's journey. Whether I said it or not, it still was going to happen. I was simply I was just reading the records, so to speak. And once you do that work, because you can't move forward in life until you deal with what's in the queue, you have to integrate it. You cannot just skip over anything because you cannot move to the next level of consciousness. You have to deal with each thing as it arises, integrate it, and then the next scene shows up of life. That's the real work. And people don't realize we have a plan, a soul path that has been laid out before stepping into a body. And all we have to do is pay attention to know what is my next step in life. And your next step is whatever presents itself. So nothing is ever a nuisance or a bother. And the family lineage, even all that stuff, none of it is a problem. It is the soul's journey, it is the soul's work. And so we simply do it. And we do it as much as we can with compassion and love and acceptance so that we're not creating more karma. We want to neutralize karma. We don't want to create more karma. So the more awake and aware we are, the more we can neutralize situations rather than feed and perpetuate them.
And since our last meeting, I've now been invited to a 2-week trip to Egypt this time next year.
From your father?
And no. So South Africa, that happened in 2024.
Right.
Now, one of my sacred intimacy colleagues who lives in Kansas City, Missouri, invited me to join him.
Sweet.
And now I can afford to go.
Sweet. Have a great time.
Thank you. And so, like I've said recently, it's been amazing to work with you for this will be our 10th year knowing each other. And finally, the things that you've been consistently saying resonate at a deeper level now. Like I knew it was true. It's hard for me to explain now my level of comprehension and understanding, but it is, I would say, so much more pervasive in my consciousness now than I ever thought. I mean, even just how much I've been playing Deva Premal since our last call has been dramatic.
Right.
So
Deva
thank
Premal
you.
is the Gayatri mantra. Yes, she's one of the, it's a beautiful rendition of the mantra. Well done. Thank you, Shelby.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Thank you all for your presence this evening. The next healing room is March 19th. So if you all would be interested, I will see you then. Until then, be well and may you all be blessed.